About 10 or so years ago, I came across a Dentapop and tried it out, and it helps retract the tongue and everything. My dental assistant, I told her, I said, wow, this is as good as a dental assistant. So she made me up a Dentapop. Dental assistant said, here, try to see how that works for you. But anyway, this is for you, Tommy. Helps Satch keep from having to go over the falls at Niagara. Um, Dentapop, purchased through Sullivan Shine and some of the other dental catalogs. It helps retract the tongue, suctions, and also you can use it as a bite block. So here we are with tooth number 17. I have profound anesthesia. I'm starting to work a 301 elevator. There's not a lot of room to the distal. I'm suspecting that I'll be able to either elevate this rascal out or maybe grab it with a 23, and here I'm going with a 23 forceps, and I'm just working it back and forth trying to get the beaks down into the furcation. A little squeeze, a little twist around. I'm trying to locate that furcation, see if I can get that rascal in there and start wedging that tooth out. I'm sliding it in between the tissue and the tooth. Sometimes you can just grab it right through the tissue, but you're going to tear that. Anyway, here it comes. I hear a pop, and I said, oh boy, here we go. So sure enough, the mesial root is fractured off. So in my haste to show you guys how incredible I am, I've fractured the mesial root off, and now I get to show you how incredible I am by reflecting this tissue and cutting this rascal out. Remember, just about everything is recoverable, and so by going through and doing this, you're going to it's going to take more time, but don't get frustrated, don't give up. You probably do a lot more than what you think you can. A couple of weeks ago, somebody talked about using a curette to retract the tissue, and at that time I said, hey, I would give it a try. So here I am trying, and I can see that it would work. In my hands, I'm just really more comfortable with a Molt 9 periosteal elevator. Because I extracted the tooth, I didn't feel I needed to go back to the 15 blade. I just took the Dean scissors and sliced the tissue in the distal buccal of the extraction site out toward the buccal. Once again, take the periosteal elevator, trying to maintain a nice tissue, and getting below the periosteum, releasing the flap. Here I'll go in with a Minnesota here and try to hold that tissue back, and I think here we start seeing we've got that. Now I'm going to take a 559 burr on the straight handpiece, slow speed handpiece, copious amounts of irrigation, and we'll go through here, and what I'm trying to do out on the buccal is cut a little window, just so I can see there. It's all about vision. If you can't see something, you're not going to get it out. So here I found that I'm having to pull too hard on that tissue. Tissue's not reflecting out of the way like I want it to. Now you can see the bone, you can see the little notch I've cut in there to try to help visualize that root tip. Cutting out the interstitial bone there to try to see if I can get something down there. Cut a little bit more of it. I can see the root tip, particularly when you irrigate and then suction. You'll be able to see it. And I've got a root tip pick going in there and trying to gain a little purchase on it, and looking again to see what's there. What I did was I let go of the Minnesota retractor so I could pull the burr out of the handpiece a little bit, get a little more length on it. And once again, I like the slow speed handpiece. I've got control of it. Going back with a root tip pick, trying from the lingual a little bit, and it's about time to put a purchase point in. I think next thing you'll see me do is kind of drill on the mesial. I can see the root tip, so I'm just kind of drilling down on the mesial, and I think I'll be going in with the Cogswell B here in just a second. Once again, lots of saline. I'm not there yet. I'm still trying to be persistent with the root tip pick. That root tip pick, I'm not sure who makes it, but it's got one angle going one way and one angle going the other. You ought to have a couple root tip picks in your office just in case. Once again, I'm cutting a little more bone, but notice I'm not taking away that buccal bone any more than that little notch that I cut to try to help with visibility. So here I am. I put that purchase in, and here comes the root tip. Cogswell B is a wonderful thing. Tommy would have probably used his Murph Crane pick here. Going in with the curette, just making sure that I've got not a lot of tissue hanging around down there or loose bone, and get that saline going down in the extraction site to flush out any of the bony fragments. I'll let that tissue lay back down and take a peek at it, and you can see it's kind of bunching up, so I decided to throw a suture in. I like 20 black silk. I know some of the other folks here like the resorbable stuff, so the patient doesn't have to come back and have the thing removed. Gut suture for me ties real easily. It almost adheres to itself. Black silk's a little more difficult. The most difficult suture I think to tie is nylon. If you're putting some nylon out on a through and through laceration, you're suturing up the face. Stick it through tissue. Didn't have enough to grab onto, so here it is. And what I do is I'll take and grab the suture needle right where the suture starts attaching to it, and hold it in my hand to keep it from falling on the patient or jabbing them in the eye. Hold up the thing, go back with the Dean scissors I used earlier to cut the tissue and cut the suture. The technique for a suture is take a couple of throws in one direction and tie her down, take a couple of throws in the other direction to lock the two knots together. If you don't do that, they'll have a tendency to slip on you. Get my dental assistant holding the tongue back with her suction. I use a little surgical suction, the throwaway kind, and bringing the suture out, going back in the other direction, and have her pick up that suture with her suction. And having a little difficulty with the needle holder here. My suture had it fell into the notch, so I had to just work it off. And there they are. The sutures are done. The art of suturing, there is an art to it. You always want to go from the movable tissue to the stuff that's still attached, if that's possible. Also, sometimes when I've got a big amount of tissue that I'm trying to replace, I'll put a suture in, and before I tie it, I'll kind of tighten it up to see what it looks like. Going back up to 16 now, I always start on the left lower, and you can see the thing is starting to wiggle out. What you didn't see was I had released with a Woodson on the distal. Any of those erupted thirds like that, get rid of that attachment on the distal, otherwise you'll tear it. Maxillary molar or maxillary thirds are either the easiest teeth in the head to get out or some of the most difficult, so good luck on that. So they'll bring you to your knees when you hit into a real rough one. Part of the problem is because you can't see. I went ahead and just take a quick peek up in there, make sure that there's, you know, Waldo at night and up there. Irrigate out with some saline. And I'm going to use a technique here where I'll take a couple 2x2s and fold them up, put half of it on the top, half of it on the bottom, and then put a bite block back in and kind of hold everything. My dental assistant was having a difficult time figuring out which way to stick the bite block. But anyway, we got the bite block in and we're ready to go to the other side. Now 32 was the tooth that I suspected was going to be more difficult than any of the ones. Operculum there wasn't a lot of room in the distal, and so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to release that tissue. I just take a 15 blade and go right to the tooth, Molt 9 periosseal elevator, and all I'm doing is freeing up that tissue. So if I am fortunate enough to move the tooth, it'll come out and won't be held up by the tissue. 301 elevator in the mesial, and I'm starting to see some movement. On the x-ray, I'll try to post that tomorrow, but on the pano you'll see that this is a big wide-rooted tooth, and but you can see now that the thing is starting to move. There's not a lot of room to the distal, and so basically I'm able to wiggle that thing out. I noticed that the tissue on the lingual was attached a little bit. It seemed to be moving with it, so I went over to release it. Cogswell B now. Tommy, once again, had probably used the Murph crane pick, and I'm rolling it out. Here it comes. And so it's taken me less time to get out 16 and 32 than it did to work with 17, because I got excited and tried to slam dunk it. Don't get in too much of a hurry taking these teeth out. You want to get them out as quickly as you can, but you know, work to take good care of the tissue, and also work so you don't fracture a buccal plate or a root tip like I did on 17, which makes your job just a hell of a lot harder. If I'd have taken a little more time on 17, I think I could have gotten it out without ever fracturing that root. Okay, 32's out. I'm not going to suture that tissue back there. There's no reason to in my mind. It's, what do you suture to begin with? Anyway, here I'm going to go up with a Woodson on number 1, release that tissue. Once again, I just think it's really, really important. And we'll start wiggling it out. I like to have them close together when I'm going after a maxillary third. That way I can pull the tissue back. So I don't know, I think it's 13-14 minutes here, probably a total time of about 30-45 minutes for this young fellow, and I think I scored about $1,250 on the 4 extractions. He could have gone to a surgeon and been charged a lot more and sedated, whatever, but just see, I think we did pretty good. Just irrigating out again. I'll have him back in a week to remove the suture, or the sutures, the two, and so there you go. That's 1, 16, 17, and 30.